Hey everybody, Todd here. I just wanted to let everybody know I hope you're safe and staying healthy. God willing, we'll be through this coronavirus situation soon. In the meantime, we've rolled out a way to still do depositions. We're doing them remotely now via the free Zoom app. Many clients are already seeing the advantages of this because it can be done from anywhere and on any device. I've already done a podcast about it and started a resource library for it at www.toddolivas.com/remote depositions. Check that out or give us a call at 888-566-0253. Okay, on to the podcast.
Probably a couple of years ago, I want to say, and this is more personal than it is professional, but, I had just lost my dad, and I was kind of going through this self-evolution thing where I was like, I need to make some hard decision. I was ending a relationship. Like all of these things were just happening at the same time. Getting up at some points during those times was really difficult because I knew that, I had somebody, in terms of like my mom that was really counting on me, and then a relationship that was ending where we had a lot of things that were commingling, and then I had work. It felt like they were crumbling in some ways, and I was allowing it to happen. I went to a therapist for a while and I said, help. And that took a lot for me to do that. So I went for a while and just to really understand like these thoughts I was having, and why I was kind of feeding into kind of my own demons in a sense for everything that was happening. It started to sink in that a lot of stuff could be fixed if I could make the hard choices and understand that even if it didn't work out, that there was still something else and I would be okay. And I would come out of it stronger. And so that's, I think, kind of why I find myself really happy today. Hi, my name is JP Navarro, and I am the Director of Client Relations at Hanna Brophy.
Excellent. Yay.
Perfect.
We're done, everybody.
Everybody go home. All right.
Now, JP, man, it is an honor to have you come on the T.O.A. Storytellers podcast.
Likewise,
man.
It's an honor to be here.
So true.
It's taken months. Well, there was a global pandemic, obviously, in the way, but
just a couple things getting in the way of our daily life. Yeah.
And we're mostly in the Southern California area, but you are in the San Francisco area, right?
Yes, I live in the East Bay, in Emeryville, which is a tiny town sandwiched in between Oakland and Berkeley. The home of Pixar. So, so we've got a lot going on. If you've ever actually seen a Pixar movie, and they pull up a map on one of those movies, a lot of the streets that you'll see like on the GPS, I think that was in The Incredibles. Yeah. The streets are the local streets there in Emeryville.
The actual.
Oh, that's
the
cool.
actual
Amazing.
Streets. Yeah.
Does your street come out?
No, one of the major thoroughfares.
You gotta move.
Yeah, I know. I can't do it anymore, right? But the ice cream shop at the end of Up is an ice cream shop that I frequent, obviously, called Fenton's. And so it's really cool how they stay true to the locality, of where they are, where they're from.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Brings it home.
Yeah, and if you're living in the Bay Area though, people know Emeryville. You just say that's where the IKEA is.
Okay.
Everybody's like, oh yeah, I know where the IKEA is. Okay.
I love Pixar movies. There's a lot of artistry in that. Just beautiful storytelling and such. So, and you look good. You don't look like you've had too much ice cream. You look good.
No.
Could use a little less ice cream, but thank you so much.
What's your favorite ice cream there?
They have a banana ice cream that is just spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the fruit based stuff. Yeah.
We'll have to take a special trip.
Yeah. It's an iconic place there. Yeah.
Hey, so let's catch up in the last three months or so. How has it been for you during all this?
It's been interesting. I've gone through so many things. I think as many of us have. I think one of the kind of the most jarring things was just the complete shift of the way we conduct our life.
Like overnight.
Right. I was on a business trip in Bakersfield, and I was close enough to Los Angeles, so my mom lives here. And I said, everything that Thursday, this was on a Thursday, everything had canceled. I was going to drive back to Oakland, had events that evening, and then business meetings on Friday. I mean, matter of hours, it was done. So drove down here to Los Angeles just straight from Bakersfield, and I've been here since, I'd say, the second week of March, living out of a duffel bag.
Really?
Because I hadn't anticipated on being here.
At your mom's?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I thought, my mind was, I'm going to drive down to her house, make sure that she's taken care of, she's got supplies, she won't have to leave for a month. And things just kind of started building on top of themselves, right? With the outbreak, and it just didn't seem prudent to leave. And I've been here ever since. So
amazing.
Kind of helping her out, and at the same time, making that transition from not having the stuff that you're used to, within your own home, even, to trying to adapt to a new work environment, and connecting and trying to find ways to connect with people that, I'm just not accustomed to, or at least I hadn't been accustomed to. For
sure.
At that time.
How old's your mom?
She's 75.
75. Yeah. Okay. So, man, she's got a good son then, sounds like.
Yeah. I'd like to think that. Yeah. No, she's 75. In many ways, she is independent, but generationally, she was very reliant on my father, financially, in terms of, who conducted finances, just everyday things. It was surprising when he first passed away, and she was like, "How do you write a check?"
Wow, he had handled everything all those years.
Right. And so, how do you use an ATM card?
Wow.
Things like that. So, it's been a challenge. And so luckily this time I've been spending with her is to kind of catch her up on the 21st century. So, she's got her iPhone now, and she surprisingly now she can text and send pictures, and she understands what's going on, in her world. As an independent senior, that can be very active if she wants to be, and she wants to be. And I think that's the big struggle right now, is being there. It's like, hey, there's a pandemic. So I know you want to go make friends.
So take a rain check.
Gotta have to take a rain check, which is, it's hard for me to tell her. It's hard for me to tell her that, because I want her to live her life right now.
How long will you kind of stay with her, do you think? Is it unknown still? It's like,
I mean, I
play
think
by ear.
That's kind of how I feel about it right now. I have a tentative plan to go back to the Bay Area, hopefully next week, and maybe spend a week or two up there.
Because you haven't been back this whole time?
I've been down here the whole time. So I would like to go home, just kind of collect, see what's going on up there, and then play. Basically, it's playing it by ear. It's day to day.
We all are. Basically are. Navigating as we go, right? Figuring it out as we go.
It's crazy how just life changes in an instant, and you just have to adapt. You just got to move on and just adapt. And for you had to come back down to to your roots and take care of your mom, and that's honorable. Totally. Leave everything that you worked for up there, put that on hold, and come back down.
I mean, it's new, and it's been a challenge, but also at the same time, being with family and having them there with you and going through this together has been really, it's been really key in terms of getting through it. And transitioning into kind of our new life. Like, we're helping each other out. And that's not to say, you got to take breaks sometimes. We're all human beings, and this is by no means easy.
I know about taking breaks, because my wife, we have 3 kids, and she's the same way. She's just a hard worker. I know you are too. So it's like one of those things that you're just used to go. But when you're in a home setting, now you gotta adjust to your home setting, and whether it's taking care of kids, or showing your mom how to work an iPhone. Just take that time and adjust your work schedule to fit your life schedule.
Exactly. And I think, there's so much to say right now about taking time for self-care, those moments, like being able to go out finally to a restaurant, you may not have been able to go to for a while, and enjoying an hour just out in a new.
What was the first restaurant you went back to in person?
Old Brea Chop House.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, nice.
I know that place.
I was ridiculously excited.
So was I.
I think when I got home that evening after going out for the first time, it took me a good 2 or 3 hours to come down from the high of just being out again,
interacting
in the world.
with normal humans in a social environment like that.
Yeah.
So true.
It was fantastic.
Since your dad passed away recently, pretty much, you think this also happened at a good time that you were able to spend time more with your mom because maybe she did need more of your time?
Yeah, I think so. Luckily I have a great amount of flexibility in my work, and so I'm able to come down here and spend time with her and work that into my normal day, or the way I'm working and conducting business with Hanna Brophy. There's just a lot of flexibility there. Now I've have a lot of time to dedicate and say, okay, like this is how you write a check. This is how you use your iPhone. It's given us a lot of time to connect. There's definitely some stuff that we don't agree on that we've discovered, but it's
like what?
Oh, geez.
Bring out your list.
Right? No, I think the masks for one thing. Like she's.
Oh wow. She won't wear them.
No, she
not
wants
in favor.
And she wants to interact with people, and I totally understand. So
Gotcha.
it's walking that fine line between like a child and a parent. We're at that time where
the roles are shifting a little bit.
A little bit. And this time being at home has been really key to that kind of ideological shift in our relationship.
When did your dad die?
He died at the end of 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you.
Very
Thanks.
sorry.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that would be like. I'm sorry.
No. It's been good.
Yeah. Previous to this, I mean, you're known as a guy who's out there a lot with the clients and doing traveling the whole state wide, and to do your job. With being down here with mom and in stationary, how have you been able to adapt and still do your job and service the clients and do what you can humanly possible, within these confines? But how has it morphed?
Yeah, I think again, the challenge is trying to find those connections that really are unique to face-to-face interactions, right? Looking at somebody in the eye, having that physical presence there. The transition, that challenge for me is, how do you do that from an electronic standpoint? How do you, it's not the same, it's not the same. But I think that we all approach it with that understanding that this is the way we have to do things right now. So a lot of Zoom. A lot of Zoom, and understanding also kind of the right timing for those things. Being on Zoom all day can definitely be exhausting.
Oh yeah,
so,
we know that,
right? And I think that's everybody right now. And so timing is everything, and then trying to just bring up conversations that don't involve a pandemic or work, because I think a lot of us are able to hyper focus on our jobs at the moment because we're home. So just trying to find those little things, telephone calls. And I think one of the things that I appreciate that's come out of this is being able to go through my phone book again and reach out to people that I haven't talked to for a while.
Wow.
And actually pick up the phone and have a conversation.
Exactly. And that may lead to a Zoom call in the future. It has led to Zoom calls, but just taking that time and reaching out to somebody and taking even 5 minutes. 5 minutes has been really, unique.
Prior to all this, had you used Zoom at all for, this kind of thing?
Minimally. I have some friends, some really good friends actually, and these guys are actually fraternity brothers.
Okay.
They went to Redlands. I did not go to Redlands, and I was not in their fraternity, but in a way that they've adopted me. So we all met about 2 or 3 years ago at a bachelor party in Puerto Vallarta. One of our friends was getting married. And I've made some really great friendships with them, and we have a weekly Zoom call on Saturdays at 5:30.
Oh, cool!
And that's our thing. We
every Saturday you get on Zoom with this group of friends.
Every Saturday we get on the Zoom. Almost most of them have kids, so that's their time.
Yeah.
That's their 1 hour, 2 hours of what we call like the adult time for them. And one of the things that we asked ourselves after, kind of after a few weeks of doing this was like, why didn't we do this before?
Right.
We all live in different parts of the country. Why didn't we take these measures to connect? And you find ways to establish a connection through.
Or why didn't we buy the stocks on this?
Right. Like, how did I miss out on that opportunity? And so it's been awesome to make new connections, and really, really, really appreciate the technology that we have to do that.
Right. And
can you imagine?
It's miraculous in certain ways, right?
Yeah. And one thing that you keep repeating is appreciation. And I come to mind that appreciation for me would be like between that moment between work and family, right? So when you're going into an event or you're going, visiting clients in a different part of the state, you come down, your flight home or your drive home, and I appreciate that time now, because now when I'm done with my Zoom call or done with the phone call or done, whatever, it goes instantly back to family. So there's no time for myself, and I appreciate that. Do you find that moment still to appreciate yourself, or what do you do to take care of yourself and that mental health kind of deal?
Yeah, I think we live in a small house, so it's hard to find those places. But this sounds really weird. So when I go to the grocery store for now, those moments.
Exactly.
That concert that I have with myself in the car when I'm going to Target. It's really, it's really important time for me. And I think that it's just important to create time. And so like this last weekend, I did that, and so I escaped. I went to Palm Springs. I say escaped, but I went to Palm Springs, and I was there for 2 days, and I did nothing.
Oh, perfect.
So just
tell me what it's like.
It was perfect weather, being by the pool, listening to music, having some drinks, and just really being with yourself, and having that time to recuperate. Coming back this week, I feel like I was 125%.
Right.
Yeah.
You just come back, renewed and invigorated.
I need that. What hotel was that? What room?
I know.
Yeah.
What drink was that?
I was like the Arrive Hotel in Palm Springs. And no, it was really important, but it's really important to have those little moments, even if they're 5 minutes, even if they're 10 minutes, whatever time you can capture. It's all about finding something that you really enjoy, and at least that's what it was for me, is just finding these little moments of things that I enjoy. Maybe that was watching a documentary or a movie that I just really wanted to see and hadn't done that. And making the time in the evening to do it.
All right, JP, I do have a good question.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious. How did you get into this industry?
How did I do it?
Yeah, like how did you, I've known you for a long time, but I just don't know how it all started for you.
Gosh, I was, let's go with 19.
Wow.
Let's go with like 19 or 20. And at the time, I had been volunteering with an organization called HOBY, the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Foundation. And I had gotten into that organization in high school. And through that, I had made kind of like my first inklings into networking. Really, it was my sophomore year of high school when I went through this program. I stayed with the program to help them run an annual conference.
What's their stated goal anyway? What's the Hopi's mantra?
It's basically creating youth leadership.
Okay.
It was they would conduct annual weekend-long retreats of sorts.
Gotcha.
For high school sophomores that were selected by their high schools to go.
Oh, cool.
And Hugh O'Brien was an actor, and he established this foundation quite a while ago in order to have an impact on youth in this country.
Oh, wow.
And it was actually a nation. They had local chapters, state chapters, and then nationwide programs. And so I stayed on and volunteered, and I met a guy through a friend of mine named Bobby Santos. And Bobby Santos at the time was the director of IT for Manning and Martyr, which is now known as Manning and Cass.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
And I think at the time I was working a job, like a manual labor job. And I was like, Bobby,
where were you living? Where was all this taking place?
This is all here. So this is all here in Southern California. I was living in Pasadena with my parents still. Let's go with that. And I said, man, I just need something. I need something mentally stimulating. I was going to college. And he says, well, we have a job in Irvine for a file clerk. And I was like, okay. And, you know, I got interviewed and they were like, yeah, it pays this much an hour. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing.
great.
Yeah, exactly. Like just being, not being too far out of high school. I was like, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Took that and was a file clerk for a while. And then then I moved on into being like a legal assistant. Okay. And there was,
wow, you really worked your way up then.
Somebody took me under their, one of the secretaries at the time took me under her wing and really showed me the ropes, you know, and developed my, my knowledge base, and I really owe a lot to her because she took the time to show that to me. And eventually I left Manning and I started with Mike Sullivan. Yeah. And then
how'd you meet him originally?
He
was probably much smaller back then, right?
It was.
We were early on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was an office in El Segundo or LA, over by LAX. There was about, I think maybe 10 people working there at the time. And I interviewed.
Did they already have the treatise by then?
No,
not yet.
This was before the treatise. So this was in 2005. This was in 2005.
Oh, wow. Got it.
Yeah. And I interviewed there and they said, okay, you're hired. Like, we want you. And I met Mike on my first day of work, and and he came in. He was just really ecstatic about having somebody, and they had,
what'd you come on as, by the way? What was your role?
I was a legal assistant.
Oh, okay.
I was a legal assistant. Initially, I was a legal assistant for his brother, for Bart.
Okay.
And eventually, I was doing work for Bart, and then Mike's like, nope, I'm going to take him. Yeah. So I was with him and another attorney. And then after some time, we opened an office in Orange, and I went there to help them do that. And then that morphed into being like a hearing rep. So I started working on liens, and then later on in that portion of my career was doing case in chief work with attorneys. And eventually, as things evolved with SB 863 and reform, and Mike was growing because he had the treaties, needed help with client management. And
that's when we jumped over there.
They came up with that.
So you touched every chair. Every single. Hey, what are you doing over there? Don't worry, I got that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, pretty much every chair. And
that's awesome.
That's surprising to me. I don't know why that surprises me. I guess I always had you with the marketing hat always. But that's just my ignorance. So it's amazing.
No, but I guess for me, the best marketer is the knowledge of what the company does. So I think that's the perfect position.
Who can better speak to what the client's actual needs are than somebody who's been at every rung of the ladder?
It's been such an advantage, I think, in being able to speak to the industry at large, whether we're vendors, whether it's a client, an employer, an insurance carrier, whoever. It's been a really great experience to be able to have that and bring it to the table, and then also translate that back to something that's useful for the company.
Yeah.
Right. Understanding the job from how this impacts a file clerk to a mail clerk to a receptionist to a legal assistant to hearing reps and attorneys.
Were you the first marketer there, or client relations rep there?
Sort of. At the time, he had Elizabeth Louis. And she was really focused on the book.
Yeah.
And she was doing both, I think, branding and marketing for the law firm and the book. And then when the treaties really took off, we identified, a need to have separate roles.
Yeah.
Because the book was, a wave in and of itself.
Its own monster.
Yeah, definitely.
Did Mike come up to you and throw the idea, or how did that come up?
Yeah, he did actually.
Yeah.
It's funny. He said, let's go to lunch. And we went to lunch one day, and he just decided, he's like, look, we have this role going, we're growing, and I could use help in growing that business and coordinating the efforts of making sure that the clients are taken care of and that we're developing our business, every way we possibly can. Would you consider taking this role? And I was kind of, caught me by surprise. What? Yeah, it really caught me by surprise.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But with your Hobie experience and being like a networking mindset from the early days, it probably was like, kind of like took to it.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
It was, anytime you step into a new role, you're a little bit nervous and you're not quite sure, what the outcomes are going to be and, am I going to mess this up? But a lot of times I was attached to his hip for the most part. So I had a really strong base in terms of growing that role and understanding it, because I was always talking to him and understanding what those needs were and how I could improve, in areas that I could improve in as well.
And you were there a long time. I was checking out your LinkedIn, and it says like 13 something years.
Yeah, just shy of 14 years. Yeah.
So nobody lasts that long in a job unless there's some real meaning that you found being there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
What was that meaning? How did it work out for so long?
I got to say it was probably Mike.
Okay.
He was, I remember him on my first day, and the guy just believes in creating opportunities for people that work hard. And it showed, and he demonstrated that when I was there. And when you see that, you don't see that in a lot of cultures, especially a lot of corporate cultures. It's so easy to just pick somebody from the outside and just plug and play. And he was really willing to spend time and create opportunities and invest in development.
Wow.
So, that really kept me there. And and he and I developed a relationship over that time in terms of, the employee relationship. But then we also, I'd like to think we also became friends during that period too.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was just, that was probably the biggest reason I was there.
Gotcha.
There's
sort of a general, I've gotten to know Mike, not nearly like you would know him, but somewhat. I've noticed like a generosity in his way of like thinking forward, like a visionary, but also carving out, like you said, like places for people, for opportunities in the future and for bettering themselves. I've noticed that too.
Yeah, and one of the qualities that Mike has is that he's very honest.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
He's very honest. So I think at any given time, it's rarely a question of what he's thinking or how he's feeling about something. And so I eat that up. That really helps.
That brutal honesty is very rare.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's millions of people who will sweet talk you or like sugarcoat for you or, or trying to snow you or whatever, but not someone like him.
No.
And it's helpful for an employee to know
where they stand.
Yeah.
And what's right,
exactly.
where they need to do in order to stay and to succeed.
And so we would have those conversations, with that honesty in mind. And that was really helpful in terms of my own professional development, but I really appreciated that's what I was getting.
How did you think, looking back at yourself from a third party as much as you could, how do you think you grew during those 13 years from the day you got tapped on the shoulder by him to switch over to the marketing side to, when it was time to leave?
I kind of look at it in a bigger picture.
You still look 19, 20, but
Thanks.
So you didn't age very much.
All right, so that 50 I gave you earlier really came into handy.
Yeah.
I really look at it from a bigger picture perspective. When I look at my employment in my 20s, and that's even when I started with Mike, I think I took being an employee of a company for granted. Especially early on. In my 20s, I was like, man, I just need to find the job that's going to pay me the most, and I don't care what the outcome is. I'm just going to do it. And now it's, I think I've evolved into, you have to really work hard. Nothing is handed to you. You really have to earn your opportunities. And, with Mike, that was something that developed over time. To say that I was the perfect employee when I first started, probably can't say that, but the fact that I had those opportunities and he was honest with me throughout that period, I think really led to an appreciation for putting in hard work. And if you really dedicate yourself and you're proud of your work, you stand up by it, that takes you places.
Yeah.
People see that. And, I think he saw that and really gave me that chance. And again, that feedback, because I think he cared probably at sometimes more than I did.
Wow.
Especially you become the face of the company. And I think that's something very big, even for like an owner of a company, knowing that somebody else is the face, you know. And I could see that you, for example, when we were at Rims or whatever, people were attracted to you, but they thought of you as the Michael Sullivan logo, and you know, so on and so forth. But even that must be huge, you know. Like I mean, maybe you didn't realize it at that moment, but looking back, you know, you grew a company really big. I mean, in my eyes, I always saw you as like, wow, he's in.
John's a fan. That was
I am a
fun.
fan. I am a fan. I'm not gonna lie.
It's the reason why he grew his beard.
At Dana Point, I used to always be like so jealous of you.
Oh no!
Because I'll be like, dude, I'm trying to fish in people, and you just had people just coming towards you. You know,
Thank you.
And it's an amazing gift, you know, that you have, because now, I mean, I see it, but Michael Sullivan saw it, you know, and he must have saw it.
And I didn't really understand the gravity of that. You know, I never really saw myself as the face of a company, and I really, you know, it never really had occurred to me. I just knew that I needed to be responsible, you know, to represent whoever I was working for, you know, whether that Mike or Hanna Brophy, you know, as best as I possibly could, and as close to, you know, their values and their ideals and their needs. And yeah, that's how I always looked at it. I never really saw it as the, you know, that face. And a few people have said that, and I just kind of look back. I'm like, really, like, wow.
Do you still see it like that, you say, or do you now see it more like the face? Has that opinion changed in any ways from transitioning from one company to the other?
You know, I don't think so. I think with Hanna Brophy, it's such a unique opportunity of itself. It's such a well-established law firm. Like they are the oldest, you know, 1943.
Yep.
So going into that was daunting.
Yeah.
On my first day, I was like, I don't think I realized the gravity or the grandness of how large they were and how well established they had been. I knew that I was very keenly aware of them when I was at Sullivan, but they, you know, it's the opportunity there is, you know, similar, is to try to put somebody out there to represent the company and bring this brand that has been well established and continue their legacy.
Before we jump to Hanna Brophy, I just want to go back for a second. Kind of what John was talking about is like, it seems like, okay, you joined Michael Sullivan's office when it was like almost like startup level, kind of that baby phase almost, you know. But then like there was this rocket ship ride because of the treatise and because of your efforts, and then the whole company grew, 80, 90 attorneys, 200 employees, something like that, you know. So to get up to scale, it must have been quite a ride, right?
It was. it definitely was.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
what was that like?
It was a ride, and I think that's the best way to put it. You know, when everybody had a hard time in 2008. And so it's always you know, business is never a sure thing. And so, you know, riding with the waves of need and the changes in business. Though I think the one constant was, you know, Mike was always, regardless of the ride, Mike was always had a really positive outlook and just this drive and desire to create something big. And that was, you know, both the treaties, you know, and his brand throughout the state of California. That worked. Yeah. And he had a dedicated focus to that, and he always, you know, I would say always, but he brought us back to that quite often. And he was very often a rock for not just me, but for a lot of people there that worked at the firm and his family. So,
did he have a saying that he would tell you, something maybe that stuck to your head, like of, I don't know, some people sometimes say stuff that you're like, that's interesting, or maybe like a way to make you go into that meeting. I don't know.
I think I'll never forget it, because he says it a lot. What gets measured gets done, gets accomplished. And true. I will never forget that. So that really ingrained into me at one point. And it's stuck with me to today. So the way I operate is, okay, what are we trying to accomplish? What are the metrics? What are, you know, how do we help either this is Hanna Brophy or a client, you know, how are we helping them get there? Because it's such a true statement.
Numbers.
You know? At first I thought it was kind of like,
how many face-to-face meetings will it take to get to the yes or something like that? You know what I mean? Well, get through all the numbers and track those things.
Yeah.
What gets measured gets improved.
It gets done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's done, or at least it gets looked at.
Yeah.
You know, and it gives you something to aim for. And I think that's so important in, you know, when you're trying to do a job, to understand, like, what is it that you're trying to accomplish every day, or what are you trying to get out of this? And to have that understanding, it was like key. Yeah, what gets measured gets done. And I thought it was so huge. I remember when he said, I was like, oh, it's so cliche, but you know, as we go along,
cliches are cliches for a reason.
Yeah,
though, right?
Yeah. But as we went along, it started making sense to me. It made a lot of sense.
So once that ride kind of leveled off, maybe, and got to scale, you know, and then did it feel right at some point to like what's next for you, or what can you say, or how do you feel comfortable talking about like that transition over whatever you want to say?
I think I think for me, and this kind of goes back to, I'd say, when I was 15 going through Hugh O'Brien, is, you know, what's that next challenge? What's the next evolution of my existence here? Right. You know, what is it that I want to do? Where do I want to go?
Your legacy.
Exactly. And I think that time had come with Mike, where he was, I think, he'd done most everything that he had wanted to do. You know, we had opened offices across the state. He had the treaties, and everything was well established.
Right.
And, you know, I was taking a moment after my dad died. I won't even say I think. It happened after my dad died, saying, you know, he made it to 84, which is, I think, you know, a really well-lived life. But it still seemed really fast to me. And I needed to figure out, what was I going to leave behind? You know, and I was like, what am I going to do to improve myself? How can I challenge myself to not sit on my laurels and stay comfortable? And that was the big thing, is, you know, I think I was staying really comfortable and secure. And that's a safe spot. And I needed to break out of that. And really, you know,
these are conscious choices. Like, okay, I'm maybe because of the turning of the page or feeling like, because your dad had now passed away, and then like, what's next? And like, it turns up lots of things inside of someone, right?
It does. And they're not easy. They're not easy choices.
No,
they're not easy choices. Like life, I wish life came easy. And they're really scary. And you have to sit there and want to overcome that fear. And there was a while where I was, you know, I was like, I just couldn't get over that hump. But I realized
and pull the trigger.
Okay. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, and I wanted to be safe. I wanted to be comfortable.
Well, you see everything that you have around you, you're like, oh, my house, my cars.
Exactly.
Am I going to risk all this?
Exactly.
You know,
it's a good question.
It's something that I think everybody thinks of, you know.
But especially after a parent passes away, you want to go to that hole and just be comfortable, but you did the opposite. You went for it, and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to hold myself back. I'm going to jump for the next one, because
And even if you don't know what it looks like yet, because maybe all this wasn't mapped out yet. I don't
know. No, you know, and it wasn't. You know, I think if you had asked me in like 2012, 2014, if I had envisioned this path in 2020,
like,
no way. No way. Yeah. But, you know, things happen in our lives, I think, for a reason. And it's up to us to make a choice as to what we do with those things. Right. And, you know, when one is coming from a place of fear and insecurity, you're going to stay in that comfort and safe zone. And that's it. And for me, I needed to get out of that for myself. I needed to understand that I could get out of that space and challenge myself and see that I could do well. Like, it was really important to me to in this transition and making that decision that I could do it. Like, and I could do it.
Were there any self-doubts? Like, maybe it was a fluke, because it was Mike's magic potion that rubbed on me, and then we had this great rocket ride, you know, but can I do it somewhere else, or can I do something else even?
You know, I think you hit the nail on the head. I really was, you know, when I walked into my first day, I was like, can I
still know how to do it?
Is this, you know, and it really tested everything I knew and had learned and developed, and pushed me to new limits and new, I think new heights to self-discovery in some ways, to understanding that a lot of things that had happened with Mike, I had him there as a mentor, but it was time. I could do this on my own. And that was really important.
And do you think living up north, friendships, like, is kind of a reason they give you that extra energy? I mean, not energy, but I noticed that people up north have a kind of a different mentality than people down here. Yeah, it's like, it's the way they think. They think a little bit up ahead more. I don't know. They want change.
Innovated.
There's a lot more. I mean, there's a lot of thought involved in relationships in Northern California. That, I think that was one of the big shockers is, that wasn't, people wanted to get to know you. And I think that was a really big test for me, is a lot of people wanted to get to know who I was first before they would even allow me to come to the table and discuss business. And that was a really unique experience. And, again, like, that really led to an evolution of, my own self, and being able to have those interactions with people, even on, like, personal basis. It was trying to find friends up there was almost like dating. Okay, we're gonna go to coffee, or are we hanging out? We're gonna go to the movies, and it was a really big challenge. And I moved up there, to help build a book of business, right? But also to prove to myself that I could live out of Los Angeles, out of Southern California, right, and be somewhere new, where I didn't know anybody, and build something. And I think the first year that I was up there, I was very much ready to come home. I said, it's not easy. Man, when this lease is up, we're out of here. Yeah. We're going to go back to LA and kind of retreat to that safe spot. But I knew that I had to keep pushing myself. And, lo and behold, I've been up there for 6 years now. Wow.
I'm very,
I'm very comfortable there.
That's another thing I'm learning on this podcast today. So the JP Navarro that I know is like what John was describing earlier, at the social events, like, I don't know, the Dana Point and Rims, the kind of things like that, where you have a magnetism around people. You just do, right? Thank you. Maybe you don't even feel it or recognize it because it's just how you see it and how you are. People are attracted to you. But there's also like this warrior kind of spirit in you. Like, you're getting over your own fears and challenging yourself. Nobody else is doing it. You're finding it within yourself to keep on growing and keep on evolving and stuff. So that's quite an accomplishment, and I admire that.
Thank you. And I needed to, when I was thinking about legacy and what am I going to leave behind, those things were really important to me, to understand that I could have a sense of accomplishment that I worked on. Granted with mentors and support, but that was a really big deal for me to understand that this is something that's within me. And I think that comes out sometimes to people. I don't know, and I think the only thing that I can do is just be the most authentic version of myself. Perfect. When I'm talking to people, and I've just be. And
giving it away like you are on this podcast, like giving of yourself and the stuff you've learned, and the people are going to listen to this and they're going to be inspired by you, but then also hopefully take away little nuggets that will work for them in their tool chest,
I hope so.
Help them.
I hope so.
I'm trying to get something out of you so I can become a better marketer too.
At least some leads. Come on, dude.
No, but one of the things I've realized that your mentors was Mike, one of them. I'm sure your dad. Yeah. Anybody else, or even right now during is like kind of helping you out if you needed any?
So, there's a couple people. I have to pay homage to, I have to go back to Bobby Santos. And Bobby unexpectedly passed away last year. And that was really hard because it was that first person that kind of stuck their neck out for me and said, I believe that you can do this and I'm going to give you a shot. And I had, again, we had met each other at that through the organization, through Hobie. And he was there a lot for me when I was learning, and not just through the pretty stuff, but through the hard stuff. There's harsh lessons that we learn, through young employment, especially in such a professional setting. To be thrown into, not to be thrown into, but to make a choice to participate in a law firm as an employee. I think like at the age of 19, I thought, oh wow, it's so cool. But I knew that meant, when looking back at it, I don't think I was responsibly or mentally ready for that. And he was there for both, the successes and the challenges, and the failures. And all of that was so important. And we lost touch for a little bit, and we reconnected about 3 years ago. And we started developing that relationship again with each other and talking to each other both as friends and then peers in the industry.
Wow.
Where
did he work at?
He left just as he passed. He was the administrator for what is now known as Manning and Cass.
Oh, okay. So he's still there, basically.
So he was that he'd been there forever.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah, and he'd also worked up the ranks as well.
Yeah.
And so he was there whenever I needed a sounding board. Whether that be life, because we started out as friends first, or whether that was professional. So I've been really lucky to have those kind of people in my life, whether that be, my professional peers or friends in my life, like the guys that we, I meet up with on Saturdays. We bounce a lot of, both professional and personal stuff.
Yeah.
And, those people have really helped me have the courage to make these decisions and to be who I am and be okay with it, and put that out there. So, but Bobby was a really huge influence. And now when I met Hanna Brophy, there's so many people there that are just fantastic. Yeah. There's truly a culture of support. They all work together, and I think the first person I talked to there was Brenna Hampton, who is the office managing partner in San Diego. And I think she and I geeked out on data. So, what gets measured gets done. And we were talking about metrics, and that really connected us. And I can sit down today for an hour and have a conversation with Brenna about data. Numbers. And also just bounce ideas off of her. And there's been more, I work with her. I work with Kevin Roberts, who is up in Reading. Even the firm managing partner, Mike White. I'm convinced that in my life, I will not escape a mic.
It's always got to be one.
There will always be a mic in my life.
There's one in front of you right now.
Yeah, as long as you don't hit Mike Tyson. Right. Yeah, that's the only one.
And so those are, I've had them, and they've, like Mike, Kevin, Brenna have really made this transition.
And there's a Todd there too.
There is a Todd, the Todd Ewing, right?
Yes, Todd
down
Ewing.
in LA. And those guys, man, if you need something, whenever I call them or email them, to just bounce an idea off of them, or get support on an idea, it's been fantastic. It's been fantastic. I think it's been a really great experience for me. The transition, it was daunting. I was really nervous about what was going to happen and what it was going to look like.
It makes sense though, like just from on paper, even on paper, it makes sense because you were at the startup kind of thing, and then that exploded and got to scale. But then to lateral over and then go to not a good firm, but one of the greatest firms, I think, in Southern California because of its legacy, its own history since the 40s, to go to that level, like the big leagues, you know what I mean? Not that Michael Sullivan's not the big leagues, not saying that, but just, it makes perfect sense. But also, it brings its own challenges.
Yeah, it did. And kind of the weight of that legacy that had been really well established and that they were trusting me with. Was huge.
What were they doing as far as client relations before you? Did they have that role, or was it just kind of like up to the attorneys or the law?
It was a little bit of a combination. Like there was attorneys and partners, and there still are today that take on the role of of marketing and client development and client relationship management on an active basis. There was a marketer before me. She was more traditional in the sense that she really worked with them to establish a brand of Hanna Brophy that is, Hanna Brophy today.
Right.
And so I walked into something that was really solid and allowed me to really focus on client development and client management and mentorship with attorneys that really wanted to get involved in that. And it was, again, I was walking in going, wow, this place has been here since 1943.
Yes. Crazy.
And I'm being brought in as a director to help them with that, and being entrusted with that is still continues to be a big responsibility, but one that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoy that.
Well, the history of Hanna Brophy is amazing, but one of the coolest things that Todd Ewing on one of our podcasts told us that was a Brophy, I think, they used to go in an airplane.
Yeah.
He'd fly to
depots. Did you negotiate that too? Like, did you get a little private plane as well?
The Hanna Brophy jet?
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's a suite on Jet Suite X. That'd be awesome. Yeah, he used to fly.
That's a crazy story.
I learn more about their history every day. It's such a rich history. Yeah, he used to, Donald Brophy bought a Cessna. And that was because I think at the time,
to Fresno, I think, right?
Yeah, there was Bakersfield, Fresno. They didn't really have boards. I think there was just, everybody was based out of Oakland and maybe Sacramento or something like that. And so there was no need to have offices. So he was flying all over the place.
Saves you in travel time.
Yeah, and you'll still have clients today that remember.
Remember him
that
flying?
Remember that.
Wow.
Yeah, that personal touch of Don Brophy coming out into the fields on site to say, hey, let's talk about your case.
Oh, he needed a landing spot, so he's like, clear the farms.
I've tried to envision that in my head, like, would he just land on dirt fields? In the
take his
middle
briefcase out and go to court.
I was trying to picture that in my head, and I just have to imagine that it's true.
Yeah,
as I think
sounds
he was
like a movie, like a.
Yeah, I think he was a former World War II pilot. So I'm going to say it's definitely within his capabilities.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the coolest stories.
Yeah.
That they have, that they would rent, or they had his own plane.
Yeah. Well, Todd Ewing, he was on our podcast. I don't know if you heard all of it, but he spoke very highly of you in that.
Oh, he did.
Talking about that magnetism, how he could come into a room and people would immediately turn their heads, and like you'd be like the center of attention without even doing anything, just showing up.
It's almost the shoes that JP wears. That's what it is.
The cologne, the beard. I don't know.
I gotta tell you, I can't match Todd's shoe collection for sure. Like that
He's
guy's
stylish, right?
Yeah,
it's cool.
But I think I hear that a lot, and I always I'm like, what are people?
Do you roll your eyes when you hear that kind of stuff?
What are you No, I'm always like, what are you talking about?
You know what it is?
What are you talking about?
When I first met you, even it's how real you are. I mean, I remember we were at a conference up north. I think it was Fresno. When we went into a room and played baseball with Nick, like, it's just fun moments. People can interact with you, and you're just real. Like, that's one of the things that I always try to do, is be as real as possible, be me.
Yeah.
And I think people get drawn towards that, And when people are around you, you're not trying to be a fake marketer.
Not a car salesman.
The person that comes out of JP is the person that JP is.
That's what you get.
It's cool.
Yeah.
And I think that has always been something that's important to me, is not being that car salesman, the fake person. And a lot of that came out, I think, after moving to Northern California and people really wanting to get to know who you are. In order to have a business discussion. And at the time, I think when that first started, I didn't understand why, but I mean, that's really important to relationships. And I had to understand that that's what was happening, is I was creating a relationship with people. And so if I was going to be disingenuous about anything, more often than not, somebody could see right through that.
People smell inauthenticity like a mile away.
Especially in our industry, and we have this discussion all the time, it's about creating that relationship.
Yep.
It's not about trying to sell the deal right now, because you know what? Eventually it'll come. If you already create that relationship.
And we're such a small, large industry.
Yeah.
I think we all know each other in some way, shape, or form. And, it doesn't it doesn't cost anything. This is a cliche. It doesn't cost anything to be kind to people.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything to
100%.
say hi to somebody, regardless.
How many times, and we have this amongst ourselves, but I'm going to ask you, how many times have you walked in somewhere and the front desk person is like a temp or something, and then you come back 6 months later and now that temp now has moved up the ranks. And so if, not that you would, but like if somebody were to like talk down to somebody or whatever, you just never know who's going to...
The mailroom.
Musical
the mailroom
chairs.
person turns out to be now the manager.
The manager,
The person
or
who
the
can-
VP.
You'll never
Yeah.
know. You never know who's going to be handing out the checks.
That happens all the times.
Well, and then we don't, like, high can lead to so many things.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about each other. We don't know what our experience has been. What's going on in our lives currently. And,
behind doors.
And high is such, like, that's the gateway, right?
Right.
It doesn't hurt to say hi to anybody, and then, just have a conversation. You may or may not see this person again in your lifetime. I mean, I think I practice this by talking to people in airports. When I'm waiting for a flight, like I just talk to people around me, or I talk to somebody
Have you always
on
been
the
like
airplane.
that? Like super outgoing, verbal like that?
Or do you push yourself to do that?
I think I push myself to do
You do?
that. Yeah, I push myself. I think it really comes from a place of wanting to be accepted. And that has happened. That's been with me for a really long time. I'd say like well into my early teenage years.
Did you feel unaccepted at a certain point? Growing up? Or?
Yeah, I think so. My life was interesting. I'm the seventh of the youngest of 7 children.
Wow.
But the other 6 siblings are half siblings, so we didn't grow up together, and there's an age difference between us of about 15 to 20 years.
Oh, that's a lot.
It was significant. So we didn't grow up together. We weren't racing. We didn't really have a relationship. I could say that I have an okay relationship with the eldest sister, but I don't really know the rest of them. And they would kind of come in and out, and that was their relationship with my father.
Yeah,
had nothing to do with me. But when I look back on it, I would really have loved to have been
closer.
their brother.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that out of that came this idea in my head, like, I want to fit in somewhere,
right?
Because I didn't feel like I was getting that from my siblings. And I grew up in the San Gabriel Valley and going to school there, and where I went to school, you're either Hispanic or you're Asian. It was about a 50-50 population. And even though I look Asian, I'm Hispanic. And so not quite enough to fit into one group and not quite enough to fit in the other.
Wow.
So it was really important to me to really put myself out there, get the courage. And again, I think that happened after Hobie, is really get the courage to stand up and be like, hi guys, I'm right here. Like, this is me. And understand that, geeky old me, could still meet people and be important to people, and vice versa. Like, they could be important to me. And I think I wasn't giving myself that opportunity. And I kind of look at it that way still today, as just kind of fighting for that place to be accepted and belong, with a group or with people or, with individuals, things like that.
Do you feel like you're more accepted now, or do you feel like it's hard? It's been hard road, or what do you feel like now? Like
now I feel like it's great to be me. I think that as long as I can stay myself, and that's what I put out there into the world, that's what people accept, and that's created. When I sit here, there's so many relationships that have been created from that, and that just it tells me that all that kind of self-doubt and lack of courage really was silly to some extent.
Of time.
It was
energy.
Yeah, and the world really didn't get to know me, and I didn't let the world get to know me. And that was really having an impact. And so when I sit here now, it doesn't seem hard at all, because again, how hard is it to say hi? Just be kind to somebody.
What's weird is that we started this podcast and with an idea towards capturing these kinds of stories, but who's been helped more than like us, I think, and hearing so often people's stories, learning from them, but also there's like this self-acceptance of hearing your own voice in a room, because I'm really by nature, I'm not the person who's going to talk to anybody in the airport. I'm very introverted by nature, and so I have to come out of my shell. It takes energy to do it. It takes willpower to speak and to do it all. But like, I don't know where that comes from. I haven't been on the other side of the mic yet. Nobody's asked me, but I too have not ever felt like you said that you want to fit in. You know, I've wanted to fit in, but I was always so shy and clamped down that I just didn't do it. You know,
Is it because of your half brothers too?
Yeah.
It might be. He also has that kind of.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I do, but it's not because of that. So I know where it's going with that. But like the self-acceptance piece, and I'm in my 40s now, and I'm just kind of waking up. It's like, oh, my voice can sound okay. I have something to say in a room and on a mic, and so it's not stupid that we have a podcast or inviting dignitaries, luminaries like you on our show. You know,
and there's somebody that's on the other side to listen to that.
Yeah.
There's always somebody, you know, even at those times where you may be low and you think, God, nobody, there's always somebody.
Right.
You know, and I think that's where, not taking our relationships for granted. And, that's why I really appreciated reaching into my phone book again and connecting with folks.
Old school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And the other part of me is I ask myself, what am I missing out on by not having said hi or asking that question? What experience am I missing out on? And it's been a fun, I think a fun ride since really coming into my own and understanding that it's okay if somebody doesn't say anything to you, or that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah.
During this time, I mean, you've landed a really great law firm. How have they been? That they probably have been super flexible in understanding that the stuff that you would want to be doing now, there for client relations and stuff, has to morph now, has to change. And so, like, how have they been on totally understanding? I'm pretty sure, right? During all of this. It was really easy to actually transition into this remote work. To some extent, that was already happening from the moment I walked in, but it was really important to me to, when I first got there, to go to the office every day and get to know the people that I was working with. And I think that's still an ongoing project because it's such a large firm. Yeah.
But they were well established as a paperless law firm.
They're the first ones.
Yeah, it's been over 15 years.
Yeah, I remember the day they started.
Yeah,
I do.
Everybody has that nightmare of when they were paperless.
Well, when I worked for CVC Legal, and they were in paperless, we're like, oh no, what's gonna happen with copying the copies and stuff?
And they, so it was really easy and really flexible, like you said, in terms of transitioning into not being able to go see people.
Right.
And I sit here honestly saying that with, I had a fear, because I said, well, is my value just in going out and seeing people face to face? What can I do now to continue that, kind of that path, but just from the circumstances that we find ourselves in? And, that became really focusing on our social media, creating content that was relevant and important. And they really stepped up to support that endeavor. So we have an education and standards committee, and those folks, the attorneys that are on that committee, really have, and across the firm actually, so have really stepped up to create content and work with me, so that we're putting ourselves out in the forefront in terms of like information, and that allows me to then continue creating connections with people. Again, like the Zoom calls and meetings, and it's been amazing.
It's cool
that the culture is just so team oriented there. Everybody's there to steer the ship.
That's awesome.
Kind of like I had this mental picture of like this big giant coming called COVID-19 stepping on us, right? But out of the sides it leaked out all these other opportunities. You know what I mean? And so, like for us, for example, there's a lot of benefit to you have called it saying hi, but for us, when we have a deposition, for these guys to reach out and just to say thank you for that deposition to legal secretary or the adjuster or something, And and it's just that it's a simple thank you. And how many times, Rick, has that turned into like a conversation and like they love being reached out to?
Yeah, 100. A lot of times. Not only that, but I feel like just the saying hi. So I think in our industry there's 2 types of people, right? I mean, I can't just categorize it 2 types, but I'm just say there's 2 types of people. One of them is the kind of person that we like to go out with, and they're fun, they're energetic, we get to have a few drinks, and you get to know them like that on a personal basis, and they'll use you. And then there's the other person that's worked their way up because they're, like we said, geeky, and they don't have friends, and they worked their ass off, right? Worked hard to get where they're at. So that high means just as great to them because they don't get that, because they don't go to the happy hours and stuff, and now means a lot more to them many times than the person that we go happy hour with. I think so those highs, I mean, like you said, it means a lot to everybody.
And so does a thank you. I mean, for sure. Not everybody has to give up their time to take a moment to say hi to you.
Right.
They really don't. So, I really make it a point to make sure that I say thank you to everybody for their time specifically.
Right.
Because we have so many things happening in our lives at any given time.
Yep.
And imagine the people that you guys, you and I interact with, and the stuff that they see on a daily basis, and how busy they are, not just, I'm sure, professionally, but some of them personally with families and things. And so, man, thanks for giving me 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me 5 minutes,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or just a moment of attention, and that really goes a long way.
Yeah. Or just read my email.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, even working at home, it actually feels like sometimes double the work because I'm trying to take care of my kid while she's running around cutting her hair off, and and at the same time trying to do these emails, and it's just But if someone calls me, it's like, do I have time for that call? So if someone answers your call or even responds to your email, it's a lot of more time in a way.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, and that goes, I think, either way, like those 2 categories of people, like just that simple thank you follow up. I think it takes you a long way. It's gratitude. Gratitude. And I think that's something that, maybe we're not as accustomed to.
Right.
It's just a moment of gratitude. And
we talk about that all the time too.
Yeah,
we do.
Just showing gratitude.
Yeah.
It goes. I think our company has been built by that pretty much.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it can take somebody a long way.
Mm-hmm.
We've also found some good traction with putting on education for Zooms, you know what I mean, which is new for us. We've done the T.O.A. University stuff, you know what I mean.
The commercials I love those commercials. Those are fantastic.
Hey everybody, it's Todd. Coming at you with the next. Oh, thanks for listening. But like that is our way of differentiating ourselves from our peers, our competitors, to be honest. But also a way to say thank you back to our clients, and like we put on these free CEUs and get them their CEUs that they need, even though they're sheltered in place. You know, you guys do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Big
and
time.
that's that has been something that's evolved, and that was part of that transition when we were transitioning to 100% remote work for the most part, is how to capture that client. And it was I could schedule like a Zoom and we could do a happy hour on Zoom, and that may bring some value in terms of like a break time, right? Because if I look at my friends, that 1 hour that we have on Saturdays is a break for them to be an adult away from their kids. So we have that with our clients too.
Right.
But it was, how do we continue to be effective and useful
and value?
Exactly.
Give value.
Exactly. How do we give value to a community that's going through something that no one has ever seen before? Well, at least we can't say that we've seen before. Right.
Yes.
Right.
This once in a lifetime pandemic, and
hopefully once in a lifetime.
Hopefully,
I can't deal with this again.
Cross our fingers, cross our toes.
Let's go with that, because I'm ready to go back to Bria Chop House like a normal person.
I thought we were going after this,
right? Yeah. Let's go. But it's offering value. How are you useful, and how can we support a community that has so many questions, where there's so much uncertainty and things are changing on a daily basis, and that working with the resources at Hanna Brophy has really been key on us being able to kind of stay on top of that and being that asset or that resource, and for them to allow me to come up with ideas, to make that happen,
it's great.
Even has just been fantastic. Yeah.
Well, they'd be foolhardy to, have you as a resource on staff and then not utilize you to your fullest.
Yeah, and I the support that I've received, I think since day one, to allow me to have a real flexibility and a real myriad of ideas of where I think we could go, or what I'd like to see done, is it's uncanny. At how open they are.
They're not micromanaging you.
No, but they're also open to evolution. They understand
Change,
that legacy happens not because you stay who you are. It's because you also evolve, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pivot, dodge, weave.
Exactly.
Grow.
And that's really a key factor for them. And I've been so happy that they have allowed me to come in and really be myself, because that's how I see myself.
Yeah.
Right. Is what's the next challenge?
They're different than the typical old law firms, because sometimes they have a mentality that this is how it's supposed to be and this is how it's going to stay. And it sounds like Hanna Brophy is the opposite, in the sense that that's the reason why they've been here since 1940, is that they learn how to change on the way up.
Yeah, the evolution and being able to say, okay, who is Hanna Brophy in 2030? Taking a look at who we're going to be in 10 years, and what do we want to see. Again, what gets measured gets done. So kind of creating those goals and that outlook. And I think honestly, that's what's led to them having this legacy of not just being, California's oldest law firm because they are stagnant or they just do things one way. That's well served a lot of people. But I think that, they want to have I see them wanting to have a continued presence in California for
sure.
Until I'm well into the grave. So
even if we had a magic wand and by the snap of a finger, we could make it all go back to the way it was in early March. You know what I mean? I think there are still things that we personally, as Todd, Olivas and Associates, we would carry over into the new normal. And it sounds like from your perspective too, and for us, it would mean we've been able to reach certain kind of clientele base because of Zoom, because of that kind of technology, in new ways that before it would have been very difficult to have done. Because we did a training last week, and 80 adjusters were on there, and they're all spread out through California. And so we, without lots of planning and lots of budget and all kinds of stuff to make something like that happen in normal life, it just wouldn't have happened. So I think even if I had that magic wand, make it all go back to normal, I would, obviously from a health and safety standpoint, but from a new tool kind of perspective, I'm kind of liking some of this new way of interacting with clients. How about you?
It's developed something that really wasn't, it may have been there in some sort of infancy form, or it was in a plan, but it really jump-started a new way of approaching our relationships and being of value to the folks that we service. I think that this is going to carry over. I agree. If I could go back and say, I wish we were back into normal times and this hadn't happened, but then I wouldn't have the experiences that I'm having now.
Exactly.
Both, again, professionally and personally, especially with my friends on Saturdays, we're just like, man.
Well, and this time with your mom awesome. Too.
Yeah.
Right, too.
And then to be able to reach out to clients and see folks that maybe you wouldn't normally see, or you'd only be able to see in person twice a year. You now have an opportunity to see, for us, it's like every 2 weeks. I'm able to set up a Zoom call or a FaceTime or a text message.
Right.
There's just so much technology out there that I feel we've really come a long way with in 3 months to learn how to be in these relationships with people that we wouldn't have normally been, or even being in sort of not new business models, but in new areas of what we do.
And I think that helps you with starting at Michael Sullivan, right, and growing those 13, 14 years, starting from the bottom. And we always talk about, we want to create a company that has a good base, right? You created a great base for Michael Sullivan and grew up from there, and now you've transitioned to a company that has a great base. So now you got to reinvent yourself or add something else to your tool belt, which you have now. From that base, you can grow up too. And so that's amazing. That's a great tool to have that, you know what, the pandemic did for you. So, and did for all of us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's something that we've all been able to.
Yeah, it's been really inspiring to kind of hear how this has impacted a lot of people in terms of like professional development and challenging new ways in which we approach our daily lives at work and at home, and then and our relationships, and then even ourselves. Again, maybe taking that time to understand that we're at a point where you have to focus on yourself, and that may be something that before March we didn't really do.
Yeah.
It's work life, and you kind of forget, whoa, let me take a moment for myself, and just kind of check in. Am I okay? Am I doing well? What's going on? Giving yourself that moment to recover. I don't think that would have
No.
I think that's new for a lot of folks too, especially after March.
Yeah.
It's been really key to health.
Yeah.
Switching gears, I know that you've been to Iceland. For one of the few people that I know have been there too. I was there this time, or March of last year, and most beautiful experience ever.
It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Loved it, right?
I remember going around the island thinking, somebody set this up, and this is a set.
This is like a movie set, like Alien Ice Planet.
Yeah, this is totally fake, and man, that is probably one of the most beautiful natural
100%.
countries I have ever been to in my life. Yeah. Walking on a glacier, if you got a chance to do that.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, and the Blue Lagoon, things like that.
Can you guys stop, please?
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, continue.
Yeah, if you want to be a kid again, I think go during the season when the aurora borealis is in. You can see it.
Is that the sky?
Yeah, yes. The northern lights with the
northern lights.
Yeah, it was like being a kid at Christmas, seeing those things like just right above you.
Wow.
It is. It's
what time of year does that happen?
I want to say that happens. Gosh, I think
theoretically it can happen at any time, but there's certain times when it's more prevalent.
It's more intense
towards later in the year.
Yeah, I was going to say like maybe September onward.
Yeah.
Is it because of the way the Earth is tilted, or is it like what causes
and the gases?
The gases.
Because of science, John. Just
science. The gases JP did.
I read a book in 1998. I don't. I mean, and you could. I'm going to say maybe because the way the Earth tilts on its axis, or
let's go.
But yeah, you can see them more prevalent in September through the end of the year, and I mean it's amazing. It's absolutely gorgeous.
I know. I'm jealous of all those pictures you posted. I was like, man, are you kidding me? That doesn't even seem real.
Yeah, that really set off. I think that trip to Iceland. I went twice actually.
You've been there twice?
Twice, and it really set off this desire in me to want to see the world.
Yeah,
and so it's been really important for me to go. Try to see a new part of the world at least once a year.
That's a good goal.
Well, you did post and you asked questions, and I told you Colombia.
You did, yeah.
And you still haven't gone there.
Still haven't gone. So hopefully, once all this opens up, I can do that.
Yeah.
That's a life goal, is to touch as much of this world as possible.
Yeah, life is short.
See it.
Life is really short.
Yeah, participate.
There's a lot of beauty out there.
Definitely. For everybody to partake in it.
Exactly.
Enjoy. Yeah.
What's next on the horizon now? Or, obviously there's still things shifting around. We don't know exactly when things are going to, return to some normalcy and stuff, whatever that means now. But like for you and when will you add in to the mix in-person kind of client meetings and stuff like that?
Yeah,
unknown still.
I think so. I've heard of some people doing it recently with mixed results. I think there's still a lot of fear in people, rightfully so, about spread and contracting, and then also from a liability standpoint on our side. Sending out employees to interact with clients. I think it's going to be a minute. I think we're really going to follow the state guidelines and then local guidelines, depending, because you may not see I think up in Northern California, I think Napa County, for example, I think has the least amount of cases. So maybe it is safer to go, if you have
I guess we're going to go wine tasting.
That's the first thing that I thought of. I was like, okay, I got to go visit the wineries. So I think we're waiting to follow the lead of the state.
Wise.
And I'm curious to see what happens with the industry after this. I'm aware that some of our conferences are fully canceled, and a couple of them have gone virtual. So I think what's on the horizon is preparing us for that reality, and for myself, and sitting down and looking,
because those were pivotal, those were key tent pegs throughout the year that you plan in.
I mean, a lot of interactions.
Those were key touch points. Especially for some people that you may not see on a regular basis.
100%.
And that's the opportunity. So understanding, sitting down and really taking a hard look at 2021 and what that's going to look like for us. I think in my head, preparing to have a contactless 2021, or at least a minimal contact 2021. Where
it's advantageous though that like we're all in the same boat. We're all in a certain boat, and that boat, meaning that your competitors also aren't able to avail themselves of those conferences and stuff like that either. So they've got to figure out the same problem that you've got to figure out.
Yeah, and I think they do.
Interesting.
They do, and I think one of the things I appreciate about some of the relationships I've established is I have relationships with competitors, right? And we really take the time to listen to each other. We understand that we all bring different things to the table, and we don't see each other as like, I'm gonna take you out,
zero-sum game.
And so that's an ongoing conversation for a lot of us right now is what are your thoughts, what do you see happening? And it's a mixed bag right now, honestly, because every day is different. Every day is a different day in this pandemic with new guidelines or new findings. But I think what I see on the horizon is us getting ready for a contactless 2021 and being ready for it. And, I'm ready to see people again. Definitely. But I want to do so in a way that's safe both for them and myself.
Right.
But it's just kind of like, okay, how are we going to plan for this?
Like what you said about the camaraderie with the competitors, because I'm on the board of the Deposition Report Association, and so I'm on that board. In fact, we have a Zoom tonight, and on that board are other agency owners like my competitors during the day. But at night, we put all that aside, or then we're on the same team, and ultimately we're on the same team even during the day too. You know what I mean? Because you become friends with people, and you realize that they're building their agencies just like I'm trying to build mine, and it's not like a zero-sum game. Having that mindset was a shift for me. I got on the board the first time 10 years ago, but so like having similar mindset with what you do is important.
And there's so many things that we can learn from each other in that way, and not just about what's going on around us in the industry, but things that have worked and don't work. Especially when you have that relationship with people and they're willing to share that with you. It's just, it's an education, right?
Right.
So it's all, at the end of the day, we're here to help each other out and,
Hanna Brophy has been a client of ours for a while, and you guys have really adapted over and doing a lot of Zoom depositions. Not every firm took that tack.
No.
How come do you think it worked for you, or is working for you guys versus some other? Is it like because of those particular files or those employers maybe didn't?
I think that we were ready from a technology basis. So we were already utilizing what is it? GoToMeeting. Things like that. And we use
that's true.
And
Teams.
We use exactly. So we were ready to transition. And since we had a history of already working remotely, this is just kind of a new element of something that we were already doing. So all you had to do is add a camera. And so we were giving out resources so that you could transition into the Zoom. And I would say a lot of our folks, we have quite a few different generations at Hanna Brophy, which is amazing to me. I mean, I've met employees there that have been there over 40 years. And
unbelievable.
amazed, but
Yeah.
they've all taken really well to transitioning, and I think that's because
Interesting.
of the strong technology standpoint that they've come with.
Your guys' offices, I mean, the one in LA and the one in Riverside, for example, they're really cool. But what I like most is that you guys have like areas where the attorneys all in a way work together, hang out, and I think that's really neat. Like kind of like
It's like Silicon Valley.
like a Google, a Google
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
You know, there's no here. This is my desk. Is there's a long table and everybody works in a way together.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
It's kind of stoke cooperation, take those walls down, and understand.
Yeah,
that,
no walls.
Hey, we're all here to help each other out, and be here for each other. And
Even Todd Ewing will be in there with everybody else, and I've seen that too when I go visit.
yeah, and I think I think part of it is like if somebody has a problem with their Zoom, there's somebody right next door that can say, oh, hey, this is how you do it.
Unclick this box.
Yeah. Or, we can share our screens with each other, so we're able to help each other out. And, I think we came from a really strong technology foundation.
Yeah.
And that's really been an advantage for us in order to
Todd Ewing on his podcast talked about when you guys are shifting over from one system to the new system and having it kind of be a nightmare in the flex of it, waiting for the dust to settle, but ultimately becoming super worth it, but not an easy task that everybody would kind of do. It takes a special kind of courage to reinvent and train everybody and do it all. But he was talking about that, if you remember.
I got there right in the midst of that transition. I think we were just finishing testing in a couple offices, and I'm based in Oakland, and that was one of the test locations. And so when they said, well, we have the old system and we have the new system.
Right.
I was like, just put me in the new system.
Don't even show me the old one.
Yeah, don't show me. I knew that was going to be the case. But again, I think it's a testament to the flexibility of the people that work there and the attorneys of being able to just take to that system and transition it. And they have a network of feedback. I think that's been really valuable for them to be really, for us to be really successful in creating this software platform that everybody can utilize. And, I think
when you say network of feedback, you mean like a culture where people's input from down the line is received and valuable?
It's listened. They listen to it, and they take suggestions, and there's so many opportunities for suggestions, whether that be on the platform for our litigation management, or for diversity, things like that. There's just a lot of opportunities to be heard, and they create those opportunities, and I think that's awesome. Really important to our culture. Yeah.
Several times in your story, you talked about like having a sort of an inner itch to challenge yourself or get to what's the next rung on your personal ladder. At this point, do you feel like you're good? The level that you're at, you've been here about a year at Hanna Brophy, I think, right?
Yeah,
about a year,
just over a year.
Is good for now. Is there
a new challenge in Hanna Brophy, or is there?
Or are you feeling any itches for something?
Not necessarily leave, but is there a challenge within that you're looking at?
No, I mean, I think this first year I spent a lot of time really getting to know them. Because if I was going to go out and talk to people, I needed to understand, culturally who Hanna Brophy was, who the people are that I worked with.
Smart.
And so I spent a lot of time trying to go out to meet people and have happy hours and get to know people, not just on their work product, but who they
culture.
are. Yeah. And so that was that first challenge. Now it's taking a look and implementing, okay, what's the next version of Hanna Brophy in my head, and putting that together and then making an offering of what that would look like for consideration. So I think that's the next challenge. And I think to see if I can do that successfully is where I'm at right now. And I'm really happy with that. And I think that I'm working, from what I see with them is there's always going to be that next step of who they are and who they want to be. And so I've got to be able to keep up with that. And that means consistently challenging myself to be better.
What's cool is that I see your excitement, but I also saw when Todd Ewing was talking about you, excitement, Dave Thomas, excitement about you, like Cherry, even one of the office managers, she was she was excited about you too. Like, I see that both sides are excited to work with each other, and that's good. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and it really allayed a lot of my fears when I walked in the door for the first day. You know, I interviewed with several partners.
Was this a good idea?
I was just like, oh man, what did I walk into?
Yeah.
This is so big, so well established, but that excitement, it really translates to them being flexible and wanting to take action and to be the next best version of themselves, of what they offer as a product in terms of legal representation, and I think also what they offer to the community. And again, like, I look at myself personally that way. You know, what's the next version of myself, and how can I continually climb a ladder to improve? And I know at some point, you know, I'll maybe get to that plateau, and I'll be okay with that. You know, but I'm not there yet. Yeah. And but I'm really happy that I'm at a place that I feel that's possible. Kind of along my path.
Yeah, for sure. You spoke it earlier, and I wrote it down too because it struck out. I mean, I want to fit in. You know, and I think you found your fit in place. Yeah. A place where it's possible. Yeah. To create and to yes, they're established since the 40s, but they're also flexible enough to know that they need to adapt for the 2020s pandemics and, you know, on and on. And challenges. As life throws challenges.
But also fit in. I think you also, our industry is actually perfectly molded for you. You know, I think that it's you being you is good. It's really good, actually.
Yeah, and I think you know, in the back of my head, I always wonder, man, am I doing this right? You know, am I addressing somebody properly? Am I creating this relationship correctly? And it's, you know, I've really found a place that I groove with, you know, in terms of, it's awesome. I think where I'm at in my life and the confidence that I have in myself right now, and the confidence to be who I want to be, and understand that it's okay, and they're okay with that. Yeah. You know, like that's, you know, that's whoever I speak with there, whoever I'm working with, that is allowing me just the opportunity to flourish as a person. You know, I think that's just really leading to something that's successful. And it really, again, you know, I'm finding these places, not just here, you know, at Hanna Brophy, but like with the group of friends on Saturday, for example, where I'm like, these pieces are starting to fall into place. Right. And sometimes I have to pinch myself and say, you know, are you dreaming, or is this real? Like, is this really happening right now? Yeah. And it is. Yeah. You know, and that's a lot of that's because I've been able to get over those fears of you know, insecurities and judgment, and just being as authentic as I can be. Yeah. And understanding that that's who you are, and people will like you or not. Yeah, exactly. You know, and finding you kind of like finding your pack. Yeah, right. Yeah, and I've got a few.
See, that's like one of my Achilles heels that I've had to really work on, is that I wanted to be liked all the time, my whole life. Yes person, so I've become a yes person. You know what I mean? And so that's not healthy. That's not a good way to be. You know, even though you think it's going well because most people kind of like you. You know what I mean? But ultimately, if you're not true to yourself in it, and you're not really being authentic, then and if you rely on calling something a success, if everyone in the room agrees or likes you, then that's not good either. You know what I mean? You have to be okay with some people are just not going to like you at the end of the day for no reason, for any reason. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think a big problem I had too was wanting to be able to say yes all the time and to have all the answers. Like, I really wanted to be able to have all the answers, and I came to a point a couple years ago where I was like, I don't have all the answers, and it's okay to say that. Yeah, that you don't know. Yeah.
I often ask this. I asked this of Todd Ewing too. I said, "What was one of your worst days at work or in life?" You know, and he mentioned this time when he lost his big client. Yeah. All overnight. You know what I mean? But ultimately, he prevailed because he realized it didn't matter. Because as long as you're willing to come back to work the next day, then you can get more clients back. You know what I mean? And, so I asked you, in your career, because you've been in this for a long time now, what was a really bad day that you could share, and then that you
took something from?
Yeah, man, that's actually a hard question. I know I've had a couple of bad days But I try
Not
to,
hair days. Not hair days.
That's me every day.
Never going on.
Yeah, especially right now, we're
Every
like,
day is a bad
dude.
day.
No, probably, probably in my, probably a couple years ago, I want to say, and this is more personal than it is professional, but, I had just lost my dad, and I was kind of going through this self-evolution thing where I was like, I need to make some hard decision. I was ending a relationship. Like all of these things were just happening at the same time.
Wow.
And it was getting up at some points during those times was really difficult.
It was a chore just to get out of bed.
Yeah, sometimes. And because I knew that I had somebody, in terms of like my mom, that was really counting on me, and then, a relationship that was ending where we had a lot of things that were commingling, and then I had work, so there was all these points, and it would, it felt like they were crumbling in some ways, and I was allowing it to happen, and I had to, I went to a therapist for a while, and I said, help. And that took a lot for me to do that.
To reach out to somebody.
And say, can I get some help? And
Accepting that that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, and so I went for a while, and, just to, really understand like these thoughts I was having, and why I was kind of feeding into kind of my own demons in a sense for everything that was happening. So all these things were happening at the same time. And it's like, look, at some point you've got to make a hard decision. You have to have the strength to be able to get through that decision and know that even if you fail again, right, or things fall apart, you're going to be okay. And I didn't realize that. I didn't think that with all these things happening, I just kind of wanted to collapse and say, like, this is it. Like, I'm going to move to Europe and start a new life. And
screw all this.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And, and I told him that. He's like, those things will follow you.
Yeah.
You've got to understand that no matter what the failure is, things are going to be okay. And you can do it. You're going to come out a different way. And if you really allow yourself the opportunity to experience that, you're going to take something away from it. You're going to learn and you're going to grow. And for a while, I was like, you're crazy. I don't think this is the right fit for me. But it started to sink in that a lot of stuff could be fixed if I could make the hard choices and understand that even if it didn't work out, that there was still something else, and I would be okay, and I would come out of it stronger. And that was probably that probably like towards the end of 2018. So pretty recently, and so that's I think kind of why I find myself really happy today.
Yeah.
I took risks.
You seem it. Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah.
Ben, you do seem it. You seem like you've seen the other side of it, that counselor wasn't just BS. You are okay, having made those hard choices.
Yeah.
And it's okay to go to therapy. A lot of us do. And a lot of people don't even know that we do. Like, that's one thing that I talked to my wife about it too. It's something that we need to do. And even if you feel like you don't need it, we all need it.
Yeah, I think the first session or two, I was like, no, this is ridiculous. I need to go. But really, and I was open about that. And he's like listening to it, and he's like, tell me why you feel that way. And and really, it was the idea of asking for help, getting over
so
that
hard,
idea.
right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to have all the answers, JP.
Exactly. So, even in my own, in your own life, you should have the answers, and it's okay not to. And that's, really got that message from the therapist and worked on believing that message. And that kind of, I think that really leads to where I'm at right now.
Yeah,
that's an awesome story.
I love therapy. I've done therapy as well, and it's one of those things that, first of all, understanding that we're all vulnerable, and like you said, not having the answer, it's okay. And you may never have the answer, but being okay with that goes a long way.
Very powerful.
Understand,
right?
yeah, and just having that peace of mind.
Yeah.
That we're not all Babe Ruth or all Kobe Bryant's. We're not all that great in whatever sport or whatever occupation we have or in relationships, and being all right with it.
Or even like what I got out of your podcast, Rick, was that just take time. Like you at that moment you might feel like this is the end of the world, but if you relax and you take a deep breath and you live through that moment, everything will be okay.
You'll live to the next day.
Just take a step back.
Yeah.
And I think really understanding that, the beauty of being individuals is that we're not perfect, and so, we can't hold people to standards of perfection.
Right.
It's kind of like that filter thing that they show, a filter of Instagram, filter of LinkedIn, filter of Facebook, whatever. Everybody has like a filter when it comes to social media, but in real life, we all have flaws. We all have problems at
blemishes.
Home. We're all, we want to put a filter on everything, of course, but in reality, if we face it, we're gonna be okay. That's the way I feel too.
I gotta say, I think that's a real testament to our current time, and so in the interactions I'm having with people, understanding that we all have situations, and I'm hearing them more. So I think one of the things that this pandemic is doing is kind of breaking down those filters, and really we're all in this place of
humanity.
Exactly, and we all struggle with it. You're not the only one, right? That struggles with something, and finding and finding solace in each other.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Giving us a therapy session.
I feel good. I can go run now.
Yeah, what a great. No, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Such good reminders. Here. I know that there's somebody who's going to listen to this, whether it's us tomorrow.
I'm going to re-listen to this for sure.
Yeah, for sure us. But also people out there who will hear some of this and take from it courage in their own lives or whatever they're battling, and realize, man, that they can be okay despite loss, despite fear, despite change, all these things, you know what I mean, that humans go through. So thank you for being brave enough to vocalize it for yourself and for a lot of people.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that
100%.
and just being myself.
And a lot of people, I'm sure, have always wondered, how did JP get to where he was at? Well, listen to T.O.A. storytellers and you can hear my story. That's what you got to tell them.
Yeah.
No, we really appreciate you, JP, and your time.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate this.
Parting words of advice for anybody who wants to do what you do. Somebody's sitting out there thinking that they might want to do client relations for a big law firm,
or move to some
pro tips.
Yeah, I think I think it's really simple. Is bring yourself to the table, and your strengths will come out. And I think people see those strengths, and that's really what gets utilized at the end of the day. Is things and there's things that by being yourself that you don't even see and others do, and so it's a real opportunity to just be the best version of you possible.
I love that.
Yes.
It's a great place. I could talk all day, but great place to end. Mr. JP Navarro, thank you so much for coming on the T.O.A. Storytellers podcast. Bye-bye. Hey, it's Todd. I just want to let you know this T.O.A. Storytellers podcast episode is sponsored by my company, Todd, Olivas & Associates. We've been supplying court reporters for depositions since 2003. If you're an attorney and need a reporter anywhere in California, we've got you covered. We're on a lot of preferred vendor panels already, but if we're not on the ones you have, usually a simple inquiry from you to your TPA or employer does the trick. Or if you work at a TPA or employer, please ask your defense attorneys to give us a try on one of your files. We've been known to treat our clients like family, and we would love a chance to work with you next. To schedule a deposition, simply call 888-566-0253 or visit www.toddolivas.com. That's www.toddolivas.com. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you at your next deposition.